said, this is a process I've used with my clients for over a decade. Recently, one of my clients implemented it in their organization, and it had a $50,000 impact to their bottom line in the first 30 days. And I've worked with contractors for over a decade, and my clients include folks like Market One Builders, Cook Engineering, Sacramento Rebar, and the Regional Builders Exchange. This is what Sean Cook has to say about the work that he's done with me. The strategic planning format you introduced is terrific. We have clearly articulated the purpose of our business, the values that drive our actions, and how Cook Engineering is going to be successful. We now have a straightforward, repeatable process to plan and to take action. So that's what I love to do, is to work with construction companies, giving them straightforward, repeatable processes so that they can take action and really increase the strength and the profitability of their organizations. And so the construction profit blueprint is a very, very straightforward process. And you're in the right place today if you want to escape the profit drain in your organization, if you want to identify the profit opportunities that perhaps you're missing so that you can get the most out of your business. You're also in the right place if you want to add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line by analyzing those profit opportunities in your construction business and figuring out how you're then going to join the top 10% of contractors with discipline and accountability, taking specific action to maximize those profit opportunities. So that's what we're going to be covering as we go through the session here today. And at the end of the time, I'm going to show you the simple next step that you can take to go and get more help if you want it. Now, what I believe is that business is good. I love working with entrepreneurs. I love being an entrepreneur. And the construction business is particularly good because from it you can get income, you can get impact, and you can get independence. There's a lot of money to be made by smart, disciplined, hardworking construction contractors. And one of the great things about construction that I really like is the impact that you can have on your community. As you're driving by a building or a development, even if your work isn't necessarily obvious to the untrained eye, you can look at that and you can say, we built that. You provided a place for people to work, to live, to play. You contributed to the community. You contributed to a better life for others. And another aspect I love about construction is independence. If you own your own construction business, you know the joys and the responsibilities of having your own company. And it's a great place for independence for you, to spend time with the people that you want to spend time with, doing things that you love. That's one of the great things about owning your own business. And so I love this quote here from William Feather. Business demands faith. It compels earnestness. It requires courage. I tell you, business requires courage. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're running your own business, every single day you have opportunities to be courageous. I define courage as doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. So you know you probably had opportunities for courage today. So it requires courage. It's honestly selfish. And I want to encourage you here in this time, you have an opportunity to be honestly selfish. That is to work on your business, to work on yourself. Being in business is one of the greatest self-development programs ever invented. And you have an opportunity here to focus on yourself so that you can improve yourself, improve the way you look at business so that your business can improve and you can impact others in a greater way. I tell you, it's penalized for mistakes. We all know that. Mistakes happen. And it's the essence of life. So that's why I love business. That's why I think construction is an awesome opportunity for people to really make the most out of life and make a huge contribution. Just a little bit about me. Again, my name is Eric Anderton, and I've been in the Sacramento area for around 20 years. I've been in business for over 20 years in a variety of capacities. I'm married. I have a wife, 5 kids. We got the little guy right there in the middle, Daniel. He's about 6 months old. And my oldest son is Isaac. He's almost 10 now. So some of them are getting big. Some are still pretty small. But, you know, I've been in the community. I work with, I've been a coach for the BAC Youth Soccer Club. I've coached College Glen Little League. I've conducted numerous youth camps with a variety of different Christian ministries in the area. And I've been the chaplain of the Sac State football team. I didn't really help them to be any better, though. But nevertheless, I've contributed to the community here in Sacramento for over 20 years. As you can tell, I'm a pretty excited guy about what I do. And one of the things I tend to do when I get excited is to say dude quite a bit. So my style is to talk fast. It's to be excited. It's to be pumped up. And I hope you can hang with that as we go through the next 60 minutes. I hope you have a pen. I hope you have a piece of paper. I hope you've got that workbook printed out and you're ready to go and to really learn something here today and to really use it and apply it in your organization. One of the things I want to encourage you as we go through the process here, you may hear things today that you've never heard before, and that's excellent. You may hear things that you've heard before. When you hear something that you've heard before, what I'd like you to do is to think about how well you're using it and applying it in your organization today. So as we go through the process, I want to ask you a question, and this is one of the first things that you can write down. In 2014, what was your NBT? The ultimate number that construction firms use to gauge success is their net profit before tax. What was your net profit before tax in 2014? I'd like you to write that down here. Now, as you write that down, right now we're in the middle of June, right? It's June 18th, almost at the midpoint of the year. If you're in the Northern California region, you know that the year's been pretty good as far as weather's concerned. It seems like construction's on an uptick. Okay, but let me ask you this. We're halfway through the year. Where would you like your NBT to be in 2015 when we get to the end of the year in December? What would you like your net profit to be before taxes at the end of this year? I'd like you to write that down. My job is to help you figure out how to bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be. And that's exactly how I've designed the Construction Profit Blueprint to enable you to do just that. So think about construction. Construction's challenging. You don't need me to tell you that. It's very interesting. From 1964 to 2015, the volume of construction work is about the same. It's about $400 billion in constant dollars. But it's interesting, competition has increased 3 times. So as you know, this has had a massive effect on the labor pool as far as being able to find good people to run your work and to just work in your organization. It's had a huge impact on your ability to get jobs. Jobs are hard to get. Good help is hard to find. Construction is extremely challenging. Not only that, but I don't know if you've noticed, but high school seniors rank construction in the bottom 5% of all careers. Despite the fact that in construction you can make a bunch of money and have a great career, they rank it low, perhaps because they're maybe scared of the hard work involved with it. But as you know, this has an effect on the labor pool. So it's hard to get jobs, it's hard to find good people. Construction is very challenging. Let's talk about profit here for a moment. The average net profit on a construction job across all aspects of construction is 3%. That is, so think about that. If it's 3%, that means you need $33,000 in revenue to make $1,000 in profit. I'll put it another way. It takes approximately 4 to 5 profitable jobs to break even from one bad job. So you really are in a tough business. Think about another aspect of construction which is challenging. Think about retention. The range of retention release of all contractors is from 30 to 900 days. And the average for specialty contractors is 167 days from completion of the project. That's almost 6 months. It's kind of tough when the people you work for are holding on to the money that you've earned in order to finance their businesses, isn't it? So construction is really, really challenging. So what I'd like you to do is to write down again, what are the top 3 challenges that you're facing in your organization at the moment? What are the top 3 challenges that you're facing? And to give you a little more, some more stuff to think about as far as that's concerned, think of it in terms of the Construction Profit Blueprint. There's 3 main areas that you have to focus on in construction. You focus on the bid, you focus on the build, and you focus on the bill. Okay, as far as bidding is concerned, you've got to have the right client, you've got to have the right job in the right location for the right profit margin. Think about the build. You've got to be able to build with speed, safety, and quality. Think about the billing aspect of your business. Are you getting paid for what you've made? How's your tracking and communication? How long does it take you to get your retention? When you're comparing your estimated costs to your actual costs, what do those ratios look like? Think about the challenges that you have in your business. Write down 3 of those right now, in the bid, the build, or the bill. Where are your challenges? The reason I'm asking you to do that is because the Construction Profit Blueprint is designed to help you to face those challenges and overcome them. Now let's think about the opportunities. One of the great things about construction that I love is construction is essential. Construction is essential. Here in Northern California, downtown Sacramento at the moment, we're building a new arena. Everyone's pumped up about it. It's revitalizing downtown. We've waited for years. Our one major league sports team is not leaving, so we're all excited, right? Construction is essential. There's always going to be a need to build quality buildings. And one of the great things about construction is it can't be outsourced. It's extremely local. People who live and work in the communities that the building is being built in typically work on the sites that work on the building sites. So it can't be outsourced. There's always going to be a need for local contractors who can get the work done. Another awesome thing about construction, it's merit-based. I tell you, if you're good at bidding work, building work, and then building work, you are going to have an awesome construction business. It is merit-based, and the very best contractors are able to get clients and keep those clients and grow successful businesses. So in terms of the opportunities, what are the opportunities that you have in your construction business? Okay, so let's think back to the model here for a moment. Think back to the bid, the build, and the bill. Okay, you could take the top 3 challenges that you wrote down earlier, and you could flip those around, and you could write down those as opportunities, because your biggest challenges are typically your biggest opportunities for profitability. So where are those in your business? I'm going to grab a sip of water right now and give you 30 seconds just to write down where are those top opportunities, and make sure that you've written down what those top challenges are. Okay, so if you've done that, I want you to keep that in mind as we go through the process here. So I've got another area that I'd like to really encourage you about. Here are 7 attributes of the best as far as construction is concerned. The best contractors, they pursue niche work, at which they're excellent and they're profitable. They deal with clients that they know well. They work with project partners that they trust. They maintain high quality, efficient construction work. They emphasize and they demand safety. They insist on timely payment of all dollars earned, and they have a financial cushion to weather the bad times. This is what the best contractors do. And you see, the reality is if you're in construction, what you find is you've got problems. Okay? Think about back to today, right? Your phone or your email may have been blowing up with problems. Problems are normal in construction because you're dealing with complicated processes and a bunch of different people. And not only that, but the challenge for a lot of contractors is they have no clear process to address those problems. And if you don't have a clear, repeatable process to think through the challenges and opportunities that you have, you're really going to be in trouble. And because there's no clear process, what happens is that you're unable to get the buy-in from the most important people that are going to be involved in solving your challenges or taking advantage of your opportunities. And those important people are the very people that you employ. Okay, you have a bunch of talented people in your organization, and they're going to have trouble getting on the same page and going in the same direction if you don't have a clear process that you're using to help them to do that. And so when you add those things together, when you add the fact that you have problems and you don't have a clear process and you're not able to get buy-in of the people in your organization, what results from that is failure. And nobody wants to fail. I didn't start my business to fail. I know you didn't start your business to fail, but we know that businesses fail. And a lot of times they fail because of a lack of clear processes to overcome the challenges and the opportunity and really take advantage of the opportunities. So that's why the construction profit blueprint is so essential. I want to help you to stop the profit drain in your organization, add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line, and join the top 10% of contractors who are making great money and are building a lasting legacy of excellence. So what the construction profit blueprint is a clear, repeatable process. I've used it for over a decade, and my clients are amazed many, many times when I teach it to them, because we start off, when I teach it to them, there's this blank piece of paper or a flip chart on the wall, you know, one of those sticky flip charts that you can get from Office Depot or online on Amazon. And there's a blank piece of paper, and there's a bunch of different issues that we begin to discuss, and we begin to hone in on the biggest challenge that they have, and we go from a blank piece of paper to unanimous consensus on how to overcome that problem in 37 minutes or less, and people are absolutely blown away. Not only by the process itself, but by the fact that people are able to buy in because they're able to participate in the problem solving and opportunity studying process. And not only that, but we not only have a great time pinpointing how you're going to overcome the challenge, but then the construction profit blueprint enables you to get into action by building clear action plans. And so when you have a clear process, and when you're able to get everybody's buy-in, and you're able to put a clear action plan together, you put all of those together, and what do you get? You get success. And that's what we're in business for. You get success. So what's your biggest challenge with maximizing profitability in your organization? You've got to think about that. If there was one thing that you could write down right now, what would that be? What is that biggest challenge that you have? You've got to be willing to face that. And you've got to think about which area of your business that's in. It might be in the bidding. Maybe your estimating just isn't as accurate as it needs to be. Maybe it's in the building. Your quality isn't up to snuff, and you need to improve that quality, and you need to improve the speed. You need to improve the safety. Maybe it's in the billing. Again, you've got to be able to identify where those problems are. Because as we go through the construction profit blueprint, it's not just a process for helping you to get stuff done, but it's also a lesson in leadership for you. And let me explain that to you in a very short way. This is what I believe. The success of your business is on your shoulders. It's on the shoulders of the leadership of the organization. And ultimately, your business is a reflection of who you are. And so the construction profit blueprint is a lesson in leadership. And to use it correctly, you must have three key characteristics. Number one is honesty. Number two is humility. And number three is accountability. Now, those are some pretty challenging words, but it's the mindset that you need to have. And where honesty comes in is the first part. You've got to be able to get real and drop the mask about the issues that you're facing in your organization. Okay? The second thing you've got to be able to do is to ditch the dude. Okay? And what I mean by that is stop having the attitude that the way things are is the way things are going to be. Or stop having the attitude that the people in your organization really can't help you and that they're the problem. I want to say the people in your organization, they're the source of some of your greatest ideas to overcome your problems and take advantage of your opportunities. So you've got to be willing to ditch the dude and get ideas. And then the third part, you've got to be willing to kill the bear. Now, I don't know if you've seen this movie before. There's a little video still from the movie called The Edge. And there's two guys out in the wilderness, and they're facing the grizzly bear. Now, these two guys are not grizzly bear hunters by any means, but they're in a situation where either the bear is going to get them or they're going to get the bear. And you know what they do in the movie is they kill the bear. And the key punchline in the movie is this: what one person can do, another person can do. It's easy sometimes to slip into self-pity and into discouragement as far as being an entrepreneur. I want to encourage you to have the attitude, I'm going to kill the bear. What one person can do, another person can do. When you look at other successful contractors and you think about what they've done, it's not necessarily rocket science. They're just disciplined, they're focused, and they really execute in the places where they need to execute. You can kill the bear as well. You need to have that attitude as we move forward with the construction profit blueprint. So let's just dive right in here. Number one, I want to help you to stop that profit drain. But you've got to be willing to get real if you're going to do that. You've got to be willing to be honest and identify the profit opportunities that are in your business. And why is it so important to stop that profit drain? It's because cash is the oxygen of your business. Rule number one in business, don't run out of cash. Rule number two is to look at rule number one, okay? The more cash you have in your business, the more able you will be to weather the storms that you face in construction, okay? It's a tough environment out there. And if you're going to be able to climb the peaks, you need the cash, which is the oxygen to help you to get there. So in order to do that, you've got to get real. You've got to identify those profit opportunities. And what I mean by honesty is this, is telling the truth publicly. you've got to be willing to tell the truth publicly. And what I mean by that is not, going out and publicizing all of the challenges and threats that you might face in your business, but merely telling the truth publicly in your business to the people who are there, to the people that you're working with. And that's a challenge often because the truth hurts, right? The truth hurts. But sometimes as business owners, we like to kind of go around in sort of we don't really like to face the realities. And you know what the reality is? Sometimes we go around with this everything is awesome attitude. Maybe we don't want to lose our talent and we want to assure them that there's a future for them, or we want to assure our clients that everything is awesome when everything is not awesome. And there are issues that need to be dealt with. And the fact is that this is not a very good strategy for your business, okay? Sticking your head in the sand and hoping that your troubles go away. Okay, maybe the next job will be different, right? I don't know if you've ever said that to yourself. Oh, the next job will figure this out. Next job will make more money. Remember, if you lose money on one job, it's going to take you a bunch of other jobs to make up that loss of money. Profit margins are thin, so sticking your head in the sand is not an option. And this is not an option either. Now, I believe in suck it up, right? Hard work is one of the ways you're going to be successful as a contractor, but sometimes hard work is not enough. Okay, hard work is not enough. You've got to stop and think about the work that you're doing in order to make sure that you're working effectively. So all progress begins by telling the truth. And so one of your key roles as the leader in the organization is to identify the source of the problems and the challenges and the opportunities that you have. And this is how that's going to happen. Number one, metrics. Okay? In order to get real, you've got to have good metrics. And I'd like to suggest to you, there's a book by Jim Collins called Good to Great. Now, you may have read it, but one thing that he does a very good job of doing is identifying the fact that great companies are able to really hone in on the one key metric that helps them to understand how well their business is doing. So I'd like to suggest a key metric for you in your construction business. And that is your gross profit per labor hour. If you're a specialty contractor, it's your gross profit per labor hour. If you're a general contractor, it's your gross profit per labor week. Okay, so this is how this is broken down. Labor is where you make your money, right? Since the actual work done in the field is where construction firms win or lose, your gross profit per labor hour is absolutely essential. So what you do is you take what you've earned in gross profit on all projects during a specific time period, and then you divide that by the number of labor hour weeks in that same period, okay? So it's labor hour weeks in that same period, and what you're looking to do is you're looking to find your gross profit per labor hour. Again, your means of production is measured against what you've actually earned in building work. So you don't include overbillings or underbillings in this, only what was earned per the contract by physical progress. Now, what you want to do is you want to run this equation not only for all the jobs that you're doing, but if you really want to hone in on some of the challenges that you're facing, do it for every project manager, superintendent, and foreman. Okay, take the amount of earned revenue and divide that by the labor hours that they supervise in the field. Do it by your clients. Do you really know who your best clients are? Take the amount of revenue that you've earned from each client and divide that by the amount of time you spent working for them. Do it for each type of work. Have you really identified the jobs that you make the most money on? You can use this formula to help you to identify that. So metrics are absolutely essential to getting real in your organization. Now, it's one thing to know your numbers, but it's another thing to just stop and begin to really think about those numbers and to address the issues in your organization. One of my clients was really struggling with the profitability of his jobs. And what he had to do is he had to gather those metrics, and then he had to meet those up with conversations. Okay, so I had this client, and he had a superintendent who was technically very good, but he was disruptive and undermining. And my client was a real patient guy. He gave him years to change, but he never changed. And so my client had to get real. And what he had to do is he had to address the fact that the morale of his company and the productivity of his company was being affected by this person who was undermining him in the field. Okay, so it wasn't a technical issue that he had, it was a relational issue, but his metrics showed him that he had the issue, And then he had to be willing to have the tough conversations in order to figure out what the actual issue was. So good contractors combine metrics and conversations to identify the issues and the opportunities that they have in their organization. So do you know your metrics? Do you know your metrics, and are you having the tough conversations that are necessary as a result of what you're learning from your numbers? So think about this. What have you learned so far? Okay, so take what you've earned in your gross profit on all projects during a specific period, divide it by the number of labor hours or weeks in that same period. Get your gross profit per labor hour. Think about what you've learned so far. Because do you really know where the challenges and the issues are in your organization? It's absolutely essential if you're going to be able to stop the profit drain. Now, it's one thing to be able to identify where those areas are. So if you're going to stop the profit drain, how is it that you're then going to be able to add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line? Okay, so I'd like you to think about that. If you wanted to add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line, let's say in the next 6 months, how are you going to do that? Take a moment here. I'm going to take another break here for about 20 seconds. I'm going to grab a quick sip of water. Take a moment and write down how you're going to add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line in the next 6 months. Okay, let me give you some suggestions. Here's one thing that you could do. You could increase your revenue, right? You could enter new markets. You could offer new services. You could expand your geography. You could find new clients. That's one way, and that's sometimes the first instinct is to, okay, well, let's increase our revenue. Let's just go out there and get more work. Another thing that you could do is you can increase the speed at which you do the jobs. I know one construction company, they're excellent at prefabbing their materials so that when they get to the job site, they're ready to rock and roll. Right? You can improve your processes. You can do better pre-job planning and coordination with other subs or with the general contractor or with the owner. Okay, so that's one way that you can improve your numbers and add 6 to 7 figures is by increasing your speed. What about lowering your costs? Okay, maybe you could find new suppliers. How about reducing your overhead? Do you really need that new truck? One of the great things about construction is that it is a low overhead business. You don't necessarily need a fancy building in order to run a construction company, right? It's not really the appearance of your building that counts in the end. It's the appearance of the buildings that you build, okay? So you can reduce your overhead. Perhaps you look at a part of your business and you realize, man, my profitability in that part of the business isn't that great. So maybe you could subcontract that out and reduce costs that way. Maybe when you look at your gross profit per labor hour, you figure that you need to get out of a certain type of work, subcontract it out, still, bid the jobs, but subcontract it out and reduce costs in that way. What about safety? You can improve safety by training your people and holding them accountable. Think about where your insurance rates are at the moment. What's your XMOD on your workers' comp? I know one construction company where their workers' comp is going up 900%. Because of safety issues. Imagine if your workers' comp was going up 900% because of safety issues. That's something that you really need to focus on in order to add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line. What about quality? Focusing on each field task. Maybe you need to make your folks slow down just a little bit sometimes so they can be more careful and more detailed and there's less callbacks, and when you get to the end of the project you can get out of there quickly. Maybe you need more inspections. The higher your quality, the more work you're going to get in the future because people love working with folks who can produce quality work. So as I go through these things, obviously there's tons of different things that you can do in order to add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line. It's pretty complicated. And that's exactly why you need a repeatable process to help you to analyze these profit opportunities. Because at the end of the day, you know what? You've got to face the fact that you're the lid on your business. Your business is a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of the executive leadership in the organization. You're the lid, and sometimes as leaders in organizations, this is what we can feel like, right? A bit like Tom Cruise on that island, going insane, talking to the beach, the volleyball. You're not on a desert island. I want to encourage you. And that's why it's so important for you to be able to analyze profit opportunities, but it requires humility for you to do that. And this is what I mean by humility. Humility is simply the willingness for other people's input. You've got to be willing for other people's input. Get off your island, stop talking to the volleyball, and start tapping in to the genius that's in your organization. So what I want to encourage you to do is once you've looked at the metrics and you've had the conversation and you've identified the issue or the opportunity that you need to address, what I'd like you to do then is to gather the team. Your team is a deep well of great ideas. Okay? If they're working for you, they understand construction, they have experience. Add up the amount of years that you have as far as construction is concerned in your organization. Okay? This is a deep well of great ideas and genius to help you address and solve your issues. So when you gather the team, this is what I'd like you to do. Take 70% of the people in the meeting. 70% of the people should be folks who are directly affected by the issue. So if it's a problem in production, let's say, you would want to make sure the superintendents, the project managers, the foremen, the lead men, they're all in that meeting. 20% would be people who are indirectly affected by the actual issue or opportunity. So perhaps if it's a field issue, it could be someone, the estimators, and of course the executive team should be in that meeting. And then you could even include 10% of people who are not affected directly by the issue at all. And the reason why I say that is because people who are unaffected directly by an issue sometimes are able to come into a meeting and give ideas that the people who are more emotionally involved, they just can't see those ideas. And let me give you an illustration as far as this is concerned. Think about your business like a beach ball, okay? And there's different people or different departments are standing on different segments of the beach ball. So your field could be the blue segment. And when you ask them, what does your company look like? They look around themselves and they say, well, the company looks blue. And then the office perhaps is the yellow segment. And you ask them, what's it like in this company? And they look around and they say, hey, it's yellow. So everyone has a different perspective. The executive team might be on the red segment. And they look around and everything they see is red. They're all on the same beach ball. They're all in the same company, but they have different perspectives. And that's why it's important that when you go into a meeting, you use the 70-20-10 rule to help you get a mix of people in there and really be able to tap into their ideas. Now, this is one of the keys as far as coming into a meeting. When you have a meeting to look at one of the issues that you have or one of the challenges that you have, I want to encourage you as the leader of the meeting, and this is key here, to come empty. Okay? You have deep experience as far as construction is concerned, and you may already have a ton of really good ideas about how you're going to solve the problems. And your people may be used to just looking to you for all of those ideas and not giving their input. Now, I want you to not let them off the hook, and I want you to come empty to those meetings. And what I mean by that is this. Come ready to listen. Come ready to facilitate the discussion. Come ready to hear what they have to say. Okay? Empty yourself of all of the ideas that you have and listen to the ideas that they have. And you'll be surprised at the opportunities you have to take those ideas and really use them well. Because ultimately, do people work harder for their ideas or your ideas? In my experience, their ideas are the ones that they work hardest for. So you've got to be able to come empty to those meetings. Second thing, and this is key, this is a skill, by the way. Facilitating meetings isn't easy. It's a real skill that you have to develop through practice. Now, come to that meeting and get everybody involved. Okay? So by that, what I mean is this. No one should dominate a meeting. Okay, if you're going to invite people to the meeting, you expect them to participate. If you're in the room, I want a contribution from you. Okay, no one gets to hide. No one gets to spend time on their cell phones. So if they're on their cell phones, checking their Facebook status or answering those urgent emails, you need to make it clear to them that that can wait. For this period of time that we're going to have this meeting to address this opportunity, I want your complete focus. Another thing that you need to do is to get everybody understanding that healthy conflict is good, okay? And you as the leader of the meeting have to encourage that, because sometimes what can happen is when people start to share ideas, conflict occurs, right? Some people have an idea, another person thinks that's a bad idea, and they begin to talk about it. And if you don't encourage healthy conflict, what can happen is some of that synthesis that comes from two opposing ideas never really happens, and you miss out on some of the best ideas. So encourage people to participate in healthy, respectful conflict. And let me just make this emphasis. Get everyone involved, right? There's always someone in the meeting who's, got a whole bunch of great ideas, and that's wonderful, but you want to make sure that you get everyone involved. So as you begin the process and as you begin to look at the opportunity that you have, you want to make sure that you frame it clearly. State the challenge well. Do your best not to confuse issues or opportunities. Make sure everyone in the room understands what's being discussed and what's at stake. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients was having a challenge with delayed retention. And so when they came into the meeting, they made sure that everybody understood that what we're going to be talking about today is the retention issue. We're not going to be discussing anything else. We're just going to focus our attention on the retention issue. Then another aspect of having a great idea, a great meeting rather, is green light thinking, okay? Now, what that means is this. There are no bad ideas. You know, you may have people in the room who, you know, the 10%, for instance, who aren't directly affected, who may not have the technical expertise that everyone else in the room has, but you've got to encourage them. There's no bad ideas. They may be able to come up with an idea you never thought of, a perspective you never thought of. And so you want to encourage that green light thinking. And as you're gathering ideas from people, you as the leader of the organization want to give people time to think and to talk out their ideas. Some people are able to articulate an idea quickly. Some people, it takes them time. You just need to be able to help them to really get those ideas out and then get them up on the whiteboard or on the flip chart or, you know, on the wherever you're writing those ideas down. Then what you want to do is you want to identify the most valuable idea. See, because this is one of the challenges with meetings, right? You get in a room with a bunch of talented people, you're addressing an issue and an opportunity, and everyone's got great ideas. But you know and I know that there's no way that you can execute on all of those ideas in a reasonable time frame in order to take advantage of the opportunity. So you've got to identify the MVI, the most valuable idea. And let me give you a quick tool for you to be able to do that. So let's say you've had a great discussion and you've got 15 ideas on the board, okay? And you see those 15 ideas, but you know you can't execute on all of them. What you do is you apply what I call the 1/3 + 1 rule. So you look at the board, you've got 15 ideas. I want to encourage you to distribute to everyone in the meeting 6 votes. And what they're going to do is they're going to apply 6 votes to 6 of the 15 ideas. So you're going to narrow down the ideas from 15, and what you're going to see, and I've used this process for over a decade with my clients, it's remarkable, you go from 15 ideas to typically 2 or at the most 3 that everyone agrees on. These are the best ways to take advantage of the opportunity that we have or to overcome the challenge. So apply that 1/3 + 1 rule, and you'll be able to come up with the most valuable idea, and it is that idea that you can then execute on in order to add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line. But it's one thing to come up with ideas, right? It's one thing to get off of your island, okay? But think about this. When was the last time you got into a meeting with people, you gathered your team, you framed the idea clearly, and you were able then to identify your most valuable idea? When was the last time you tapped into the genius of your team? When was the last time you disciplined yourself to focus on a clearly framed challenge or opportunity? When was the last time you were able to gather a bunch of ideas and then actually narrow them down? Think about which is most valuable to you from this part of the session, because really, as far as the construction profit blueprint is concerned, you need to get really good at running meetings, okay? And I tell you, running meetings can either be awesome or it can be a pain in the neck. And if you use the construction profit blueprint, if you just take those 3 ideas that I gave you, it's going to really help you to run much more effective meetings that generate ideas that you can then execute on. Okay, so we're moving on now to the last part of the construction profit blueprint. We started off with escaping the profit drain by being honest and identifying those profit opportunities. Then we talked about how you can analyze the profit opportunities by gathering the team so that you can add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line. And now we want to talk about how to join the top 10% of contractors. And the way you're going to the way you're going to get to the top 10% of contracting is this. It's by action, okay? It's by action. The top 10% of contractors are people who take intelligent, consistent action on great ideas. Because the problem with meetings, right, is when all was said and done, a lot was said, and then you go down the road and what do you find? Just tumbleweed. Nothing gets done, okay? And that's one of the deepest frustrations that people have with meetings, is because it's a bunch of blah, 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 and nothing ever happens. So again, in order to join the top 10%, what you've got to be able to do is get into intelligent, consistent action. Now, how's that going to happen? okay? And why is this important? Let me say this. Think back to the number that you wrote down at the beginning of the webinar. In 2014, right? What was your net before taxes? What was your net profit before taxes? If there's no action, there can be no positive change. You may have negative change imposed upon you from outside, but if you want to get to that number in 2015, if you want to jump that gap, if you want to bridge it, you've got to get into action, okay? And in order to get into action, you've got to be willing for accountability. If you're going to join the top 10%, this is the leadership lesson that you must learn and that you must really communicate to your people, and that is accountability. And accountability is the obligation of an individual or organization to account for its activities, accept responsibility for them, and disclose the results in a transparent manner. In other words, if people say they're going to do stuff, you hold them accountable for that stuff, right? And in your business, you either make yourself accountable or you will be made accountable by your circumstances. And the reality is that many businesses fail. 55% of businesses fail by year 4 because of incompetence. Incompetence in the fact that they're not able to identify the things that they need to do in order to be successful and then execute on those things. One of the things that I found with contractors is they're incompetent at identifying, analyzing, and then maximizing their profit opportunities. So this is the key part of the construction profit blueprint. Once you understand your opportunities, once you've figured out how you're going to overcome them, you then need to build an action plan. So let me show you how to do that, and this is absolutely essential. First thing you need to do when you're building an action plan is to get yourself a rally cry. To get a rally cry. Now let me explain to you what that looks like. Here's an illustration from history. This is a map. If you look at this map, it's a map of the advance of the Allies across Germany in May 1945, right? So 70 years ago, they were advancing across Germany. You had the Russians coming in from the east, you had the British and the Americans coming in from the west, right? And they had all of this complex stuff that they had to do and as they were advancing across Germany. But they were very focused on a rally cry as far as all that complex stuff they were doing. It kind of looks like a construction site, right? And this was the rally cry. Beat Germany. Okay, so if you shook the soldiers in the morning and they woke up and you asked them, what's the most important thing that you have to do? They could look at you and they could say, beat Germany. Okay, now are you clear on what your rally cry is? I've worked with clients and one of the rally cries is improve safety. Okay, it's not necessarily sexy or or necessarily really complicated, but it is correct and it is accurate. Maybe it's improve cash flow. Maybe it's figure out retention. Maybe it's identify our niche. Maybe it's improve communication, a clear rally cry. Typically what I encourage my clients to do is to take the MVI that they identified in the previous step, the most valuable idea, and translate that into the rally cry. Okay, so you've got to start with the rally cry. Then once you have the rally cry, and think of it at the top of a piece of paper, a single sheet. You don't want to complicate things. Okay, life is complicated enough and construction is complicated enough. If you can simplify your planning process, it's going to help you with your execution. So what you want to do is you want to get areas of fierce focus. Okay, so let me go back to the illustration with a map in order to explain that. So the rally cry was to beat Germany, but in order to beat Germany, there were areas of fierce focus, right? You think about the British Army, the 2nd British Army up to the top of the map, right? They had to take over northern Germany. The 7th American Army down at the bottom were responsible for southern Germany. The Russians were responsible for Berlin. They had different areas of fierce focus. So think about that. Let's say your rally cry is to improve communication in your organization. Perhaps the areas of fierce focus, you could have 3 areas of fierce focus. Let's say the first one is a daily check-in. You're going to implement and hold people accountable for a daily check-in. Perhaps it's with the foreman, or perhaps it's between the project managers and the superintendent, but there's going to be a daily check-in. That's an area of fierce focus to improve communication. Perhaps another area could be improving your measurement and reporting of progress so that you can figure out that gross profit per labor hour. Okay, so you're going to improve communication on as far as improving the measurement and reporting of progress. So that can be another area of fierce focus. Another area of fierce focus as far as improving communication could be a weekly meeting. You're going to commit to a weekly meeting that's well structured, where you're not only reviewing the projects, but you're reviewing the obstacles that are in the way to you completing those projects profitably, and you're proactively taking action on that review. And so you have those 3 areas of fierce focus, and then you add in critical numbers. So you tie your critical numbers to the areas of fierce focus, because that's how you're going to measure whether or not you're going to achieve the rally cry. Let me show you what it looks like here. You have the rally cry at the top of the page. Okay, so let's say it's improved communication. Then your areas of fierce focus, you're going to have those daily meetings. You're going to improve your measuring and reporting of progress, and you're going to have your weekly meetings. And then underneath that, you're going to have critical numbers that tell you whether or not you're doing those areas of fierce focus that are then driving the rally cry. So in this illustration, and it's simple, I know, but one of the critical numbers could be, did we have the daily meeting? How many daily meetings did we have this week? Okay, that could be an area of critical number. Then you could have another critical number. Have we actually identified our gross profit per labor hour? What is that gross profit? What is acceptable as far as our gross profit is concerned? And is that telling us whether or not we're improving the measurement and the reporting of progress? And then you can have another critical number. Are we actually doing the weekly meetings? Are we doing these weekly meetings that are helping us to then focus in on the rally cry and achieving the things that we want to accomplish? So think about this. It's a very simple structure. Think about identifying that rally cry. Think about those areas of fierce focus. Don't make it too complicated. You should have 3 to 5 areas of fierce focus at the most, and you should be able to tie in at least one critical number with each area of fierce focus that tells you whether or not you're doing it acceptably. Okay? So, you've got to be able to account for activities. You've got to be able to accept responsibility. And you've got to be able to disclose results in a transparent manner. Are you getting results disclosed to you in a transparent manner? Now, guys out in the field, what do they want to do? They just want to build, and they struggle with reporting many times, right? You've got to make it simple for them to report back to you. Don't make your spreadsheets or your reporting mechanisms overcomplicated so that they can report back to you in the most efficient way possible. But this kind of communication needs to happen in your organization. This kind of focus needs to happen if you're going to take advantage of your profit opportunities. So now, it's time for you to get to work, okay? Think about what's been most valuable to you so far. Think about the construction profit blueprint as I shared with you at the beginning. You've got 3 aspects to your business. You've got the bid, you've got the build, you've got the bill. I've just taken you through a process that I've used with my clients for over a decade that has had significant impact on people's bottom line as they use and apply it. The whole key is to help you to identify, analyze, and then maximize your profit opportunities. And I'm not sure why you showed up here today. You know, perhaps because you know there's a profit drain in your business and you got to figure out how to plug it. Perhaps because you want to take your business to the next level and add 6 to 7 figures to your bottom line. Maybe you want to join the top 10% of construction companies. Maybe you really have an ambition to create a lasting legacy. Whatever the case is, the key to your success is action, okay? So I've got a great quote here from George Patton. He's a muddy boots general from World War II. You'll have to forgive me for all these historical references. I was a history major in college, and I read history all the time. I want to encourage you to do that, by the way. Read biographies, okay? It can really help you, even not necessarily business books, but biographies of people in leadership from various different backgrounds, whether it be military or political or whatever the case may be. Read biographies of leaders. It can really teach you a lot. But this is what he says: a good plan violently executed today it's far better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Stop waiting for perfection. You know it's construction, right? Perfection isn't coming anytime soon. You strive for excellence, not necessarily perfection. So if you look in your workbook, there's an action plan, and I like to call it a transition plan. And so you want to ask 3 questions. Where do I want to be? That's the result you want to get. Where am I now? That's the reality that you face. And what's holding me back? And again, let's go back to the mindset that I shared with you earlier. If this is going to happen, you've got to be willing to drop the mask, ditch the dude, and then kill the bear. Drop the mask, ditch the dude, kill the bear. So look at that action plan. Think about it in these terms. Where do you want to be 12 months from now? Think about your bidding. Where do you want to be as far as your niche is concerned? Think about the clients you're currently working for. How many of those clients do you need to fire? How many of those clients do you need to stop doing business with in the next 12 months because they're not the profitable clients that you're looking for? Think about the jobs that you're doing right now. Are they really the jobs that you guys excel at? Have you identified what those are? Think about the locations. Are you happy in the area that you're in, or do you want to expand? Or perhaps you're overexpanded and you need to really focus in on a geographic area closer to home. Whatever the case is, where do you want to be 12 months from now as far as your bidding's concerned? As far as your building's concerned, where do you want to be as far as the quality? Are you improving your quality? What about the safety? How about the speed? Think about that in your business. Perhaps you need to bring on a key person in order to really improve the quality. Perhaps you need to be willing to stick your neck out more and make sure that accountability is happening so that the speed and the safety is being executed in the way that you want. How about the billing? Where do you want to be as far as the billing is concerned 12 months from now? How do you want to reduce your retention timeline? How do you want to improve your accuracy? Perhaps you just need to get a little more bold with the people who owe you money and get out there and hustle and get your money. I was working with one of my clients, in fact, the one that added $50,000 to their bottom line in less than 30 days, and they realized, you know what, man, I just got to get bold and get out there and get my money that I've earned and that I'm owed. Okay? So where do you want to be? That's the first question. Second question, where are you now? And again, look at those three areas. Be honest. Where are you now? Okay, if everything is not awesome, then say that. Okay, if you can identify the areas that you really need to address as far as taking advantage of profit opportunities, say that. If you're working with someone that you really like working with and they're doing a great job for you and you have a great relationship with them, think about what can I do to improve that relationship and get more work with them. Think about as far as your team is concerned. Think about this, where you are now. I just want to ask you this question. Who's working in your organization right now that you should have fired 6 months ago? That might be a challenging question. Who should you have fired 6 months ago that's working in your organization right now? Think about that. Many times when I ask leaders of companies that, they kind of smile because there's at least one person that they should have gotten rid of. Okay? So where are you now as far as your team's concerned? Who's bringing your team down? Who's building your team up? Where are you now as far as your billing is concerned? And then I want you to ask this question. What's holding you back? Okay, what is holding you back from getting to where you want to go? What's in the way? Perhaps it's a team issue. Perhaps it's a process issue. Perhaps your estimating is just not as accurate as you need it to be, and you need to go to work on that. Perhaps you don't have your key metrics down. Perhaps your reporting isn't that great. You estimated your jobs at one level, and you're always doing when you're building the job, the actual job costs are far exceeding your estimated costs, and you need to work on that. I want to encourage you to really be honest about what's holding you back. So take time and write those things down on your transition plan. And as you're doing that, I want you to think about this success formula that I've put together. And it's a very simple formula. I call it D times V plus F has got to be greater than R. So think about this in your business. Think about the dissatisfaction. If you're like any typical entrepreneur, there is at least a degree of dissatisfaction as far as how things are going. Things are not perfect. You could be making more money and better money. You could be having a stronger team. You could be doing better work. So there could be dissatisfaction in your business at the moment. But what about the vision? I mean, think about why you started the business in the first place. Think about the vision that you had. And I want to encourage you to have vision, to understand that you're on a journey. You're on a 20, 25-year journey as far as your business is concerned. Who knows where you're going to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to go, though? Where is it that you want to take your business? Think about the vision that you have for your business. And then you've got to add first steps. So dissatisfaction times vision plus first steps has got to be greater than resistance. You know, the resistance that you face. Sometimes the resistance that you face to change. Change is tough, right? Managing your business is tough. There can be resistance there. And if you're going to be able to take your business to the next level, your dissatisfaction, your vision, and the first steps you take have got to be greater than your resistance. So let me tell you how I help as far as working with my clients. Think about where you are right now. Think about where you want to be, and think about what's holding you back. I help you figure out where you are, get through the things that are holding you back so that you can get to where you want to go. That's how I work with my clients. I help them to identify, analyze, and then maximize their profit opportunities in their organization. And I'm not sure why you're here today, but I know this for sure is that we're all on a journey. We're all going down this highway of life, and this is Highway 78, and I like to call it Road 4056. And what does that mean? Well, the average lifespan, 78 years, right? We got 78, maybe 80, maybe 85, maybe 90. They're always adding a few more years on, but we have a limited time on this planet. And we're going down this road. 4056, what does that refer to? We've got 4,056 weeks in that 78 years. So you're at some point along this journey. And think about why you started your company. You started your company to make money. Making money is a good thing. Okay, you can do lots of things with good money. You started your company so that you could spend time doing the things that you love with the people that you love, right? You did it so that you could have more freedom and more opportunity with your time. You did it so that you could have fun. Your business should be fun. Your business should be enjoyable. Yes, I know there's blood, sweat, tears, and toil, but it should be enjoyable as well. And that's really what I focus on helping my clients to do, is to make more money, get more time for themselves, have more fun. And that's why you need to really think about this formula. The dissatisfaction times the vision plus the first steps has got to be greater than resistance. And I promised at the beginning that I would let you know how to get help. So I want to keep that very simple. And this is how you can take first steps. I'd like to give you the opportunity to go to this link at timetrade.com. If you just type in this link to your browser, timetrade.com/book/PC9DP, you can book in a 10-minute conversation with me. Very simple first steps. In this short conversation, we'll figure out what's possible for your business, how much money, freedom, and impact you can expect from it. We're going to identify the number one thing that's been holding you back, and you'll walk away from that 10-minute conversation confident and excited about taking your business to the next level. All you got to do is go to that Time Trade link and book in that phone conversation with me next week.